Oh, I want to correct that.
Yeah.
The idea that there were other humans, or is what you're saying, other than just Adam and Eve.
Right.
That idea is not accepted.
They live now on
Because we come from an original parent, not original parents. There was an original parent that from which the entire human race comes from, because that is where we contract original sin from. It was from an original set of parents, Adam and Eve, or whoever you want to call them, through which the entire human race developed. So there weren't an interaction with other humans that God created into this race. So they were all from the original parent. Okay, that's part of our faith. All right, so just want to make that clear. So yes, when we say he married his sister, yes, it's because they were all from the original parents of Adam and Eve. And I believe it's in my next one that I want to say something about that. Yes. Here's some more. Let me bring this up here. The names all mean something. There's a reason why these particular children of Adam and Eve are named, rather than all of his sisters and all of the siblings that were there at the time. For example, Adam means man. Just the word itself means man. Eve, the word means living. Okay? Cain, the word Cain means acquire, create, or make. That's the Hebrew word for Cain. Abel, interestingly enough, is the word for vapor or vanity. In Hebrew, it's havel. H-A-V-E-L, havel, which means vapor or vanity. It's the same word that's used in the book of Ecclesiastes, where it says, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. The word there is havel. Okay? So that's where we get the English word for Abel, and it means vapor, which is interesting because he, as a character in the narrative, appears and then goes away. He's a vapor. Cain means to create or make. Okay? Now, and I would challenge someone to do this, because I did this once many years ago. If one were to do a study on the names of the patriarchs listed in Genesis 5, from Adam to Noah, you would find a most interesting insight. And I'll give you a hint. It helps answer the question, why all are these genealogies in the Bible? Why do we have pages and pages of just names of who begat this and who begat that? A short answer to that is, if you were to look in Genesis 5 and you look at the list of the patriarchs from Adam all the way to Noah, and you see all the names. So for example, it says, verse 5, Adam lived 930 years, then he died. Verse 6, Seth had lived 105 years and became the father of Enosh. Seth lived after the birth of Enosh 807 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus were all of his days, and then he died. Enosh lived 90 years and became the father of Canaan. Verse 12, Canaan lived another 70 years and became the father of Mahalalel. And then Mahalalel lived 65 years and became the father of Jared. Verse 18, Jared lived 160 years, became the father of Enoch. That's the one that followed God and was no more. Verse 21, Enoch lived 65 years and became the father of Methuselah. Enoch walked with God after the birth of Methuselah 300 years, had other sons and daughters. Verse 24, Enoch walked with God and was not, for God took him. So that's the Enoch that lived, that just walked with God. Verse 25, Methuselah lived 100 years and became the father of Lamech. Lamech lived, verse 28, 128 years and became the father of a son and called him Noah. So when you do a study of all of these names, find out, what does Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Mahaliah, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, what all of those names mean in Hebrew, because they all have a meaning. You will find that there is if you will, a hidden message as to what connects Adam to Noah and why all of these names are listed. Why do we have these in here? So I'll just give that as a little hint. You can look these up on the internet. They're very easy to find. You just put in the name and it'll tell you what is the Hebrew name, what it means in the original Hebrew. Like Adam means man, Abel means vapor, etc. And you will find that when you list all of these names and what they mean, they kind of tell a story from Adam to Noah. Just a little thought. You had your hand up.
Well, I'm a little confused on their ages, and they live hundreds of years, and then Jesus lives 33 years. I mean, it's the New Testament, but are their years shorter than?
We'll get to that. I want to just point this last point out. Most of Genesis 4 describes the early civilization founded by Cain. So when you read after verse 17, when Cain finds his wife and then has his son and so forth, the rest of chapter 4 describes all of Cain's descendants. At the very end of chapter 4, we have verse 25. Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and named him Seth. For she said, God has appointed for me another child instead of Abel, for Cain slew him. So Seth also a son was born, and he named him Enosh. And that time men began to call upon the name of the Lord. What you see in Genesis 4 is two lineages. Even though Adam and Eve had many other sons and daughters, these two are distinct. You have Cain, who was wicked for killing his brother, and you have that lineage. Then you have Seth, who was born after Abel, and it says, they call upon the name of the Lord. So if you will, you have a godly line. So you have a wicked son and a line, and you have a godly son and a line. You remember the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. And so what you see here in the very beginning is this delineation of two lines from the same parents. One falling away from God and one following God. And what happens? All of this leads us to chapters 6 through 9 and the story of Noah and the flood. Okay? Now, I'm going to give a quick answer to you about how come people are living 800, 900 years. Are we to take that literally? You can if you want to, but it's not a tenet of our faith. There are several answers as to why are these ages the way they are. I would refer you to your commentary as one of the possible explanations. That you can find on, let me see if I can find this for you. Where is it? Page 25. It says 930 years. Adam's age falls within the range of 770 to 969 that characterized the era before the flood. There is as yet no positive solution to the mystery of these enormous lifespans. But he gives some possible explanations here. So I would refer you to the paragraph within your commentary to help explain that. Now, I've kept you a little bit longer than I should tomorrow. Next week, if you remind me again, I'll give you my 2 cents as to why or how to look at these enormous lifespans. All right? But with that, may the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord make his face face shine upon you and give you peace. Good night.
Thank you.